Hello, everybody. It is, of course, our favorite time of week, and I am Coach Sabrina B. I am a social imagery and ministry life coach. I work with women in business and ministry, making sure that they are living their camera-ready lives. We make sure that they look good on the platform, in the pulpit, in front of the camera, and behind the camera. If you would like to know a little bit more about what I do, you can, of course, swing on over to the website www.ssboardley.org. We talk about the feel, the look, and the sound. It is an amazing three-step process that my clients go through. And let me tell you something, we have produced some dynamic women of God who, of course, are in ministry and business in some form or another. They may not have an actual church building, but ministry comes from the inside and exudes on the outside. Again, make sure that you, of course, subscribe to this channel. Don't miss a beat. That way that you'll know whenever we go live each and every week. Again, that website is www.ssboardley.org. So enough about me. Let's get into our topic of conversation on today. We are in the season of spring, and I want to talk about the different seasons of business, all right? The different seasons of business. Now, we are getting ready to embark upon the second quarter of 2023. Baby, if you didn't know, woo, the months are flying by. But I just have one question. What have you been doing with your months? Have you been productive? Or have you just been busy? Okay, that's a topic of conversation for another day. But today we want to talk about the seasons of business. You have your springtime, you have your fall time, you have your winter, and of course you have your summer, okay? Spring, summer, fall, winter, all of those good 4 months. But this month we are in the month of spring. And in one of my ministry groups, we have been talking about springing forward flawlessly. We have been talking about springing forward relentlessly. We have been talking about springing forward powerfully. But I have to ask the question, do you really know how to spring forward? It's just not a cliche. It's not something that we're just speaking out of our mouth, but it takes action in order to move forward. During the season of spring, this is creation time. This is when sowing and planting is done. Have you noticed that the buds on your plants are now coming out? Have you noticed that those fall colors are now changing? Those winter colors are now changing. It's going from an orange brown to a yellow green now. It's popping up in pinks and reds and blues and purples. This is the time of creation. Spring is when we begin to create. Spring is when things begin to flow in our minds. Spring is when we have to begin to write down some of these visions, some of these ideals, some of these creative ways that we, of course, are going to remain relevant in the industry that we're in. Listen, you have got to tailor my conversations to your industry. Wherever you are working, whatever you find your hands to do, in this season of spring, it is now time to move forward. It is now time for growth to happen. Now you are asking yourself, how am I supposed to grow, coach? What am I supposed to be doing? Well, see, what happens is in the months preceding spring, that is, of course, the time that we begin to rotate. In the season of summer, that is time for growth. So in spring, we begin to create. Did you write that down? Number one, spring is when we begin to create. It is when we begin to plant and when we begin to sow some of those seeds, right? It is when we begin to see the springing forth or the blooming, okay, of those ideas. So within this mind right up here, that's when we start to see some of these creative things come to place. You may begin in the arts and crafts field. You may be a crafty person. I'm not a crafty person, honey. Okay, but now I'm a business-minded person. If you give me a few minutes, I can tell you how to take your craft and turn it into income. Hello, somebody. Y'all need to contact me. Okay, I'm just saying. Listen, in the months of summer, what we're looking to do is grow. Now, we've planted those seeds, we've written it, we have, of course, begin our creative ideas, how we're going to do this, how we're going to start the YouTube channel, how we're going to create X, Y, and Z, how we're going to start a new business page, how we're even going to start a new business. Now we're going to write those things down, all right? So spring is a time of creation. Summer, number two, summer is when we begin to grow, taking responsibility, confronting, learning, come on, business growth, exposure. Now it's time for you to implement those ideas, of course, after you have CCF, consulted Christ first. Did you write that down? After you have consulted Christ first, now it is time for you to begin to water those spring ideas that you have, of course, written down. What is that one thing? I don't y'all go out there telling nobody that coach told y'all that you need to start 5 things at one time. Absolutely not. Don't you do it, because all you're going to do is confuse yourself and the people, and you're going to have 5 hot projects out there that are incomplete. Do one thing, dear heart, okay? And do that one thing very well. I need you to be not a jack of all trades and a master of none. I need you to master one thing at a time. Come on, okay, did you write that down? Master one thing at a time. Put that as a side note, highlight it, parentheses, quotation marks. I got to do one thing at a time, because during the season of summer is when we're beginning to grow, right? That is the time, usually right at the end of spring, around about that June month. That's the time now that we have implemented one of those ideas from our written stages that we know, okay, we can go with this, we can build this, and we can, of course, cause this to grow. All right. Now, next season is going to be the season of fall. Fall is the season of harvest. It's time for us to reap those seeds that we have sown. Now, if you ain't did nothing, you ain't gonna get nothing. As a farm girl, all right, as one being raised on the farm, I knew when it was planting time and when it was harvest time. You cannot harvest before time, because you will have an incomplete product. Did you put that down as a side note? You cannot harvest before it is time, because you will have an incomplete product. Don't nobody want no half-grown ears of corn. You can't sell that. Ain't nothing you can do with that. We want full-grown stalks of corn. We don't want a corn cob with half the kernels on it. We want it to be full-grown. Okay, I'm just saying, in the season of fall, we plant and we wait on the return. Obedience is required for the harvest. Trust is another requirement. You cannot harvest before time. You have got to wait in the season of fall, because spring, we created our ideas. Summer, we begin to grow those ideas. We begin to implement those plans. We begin to implement those blueprints. Now, in the season of fall, in business, now is where we're trying to reap the harvest. Listen, it ain't gonna happen overnight. Don't y'all run out here thinking, whoo, I done waited for spring. Okay, summer, she say I'm gonna grow, and then fall, baby, I'm finna harvest. If you don't put no work in it, it ain't gonna work for you. Don't fool yourself, okay? Because I ain't gonna fool you. You got to put the work in. And let me tell you something. A season can last longer than 3 to 4 months. Your season might go from year to year. Y'all, listen. I am in year number 3 in one of my businesses. And this particular season of my business, it is fall. In the natural, it's spring. But in my business season, it is fall. I went through spring, I went through summer, and now I am in fall. It is now time for me to reap the harvest of the seeds that I have planted. In spring, I had to put the seeds in the ground. In the summer, I had to till the ground and wait for the growth. Now that it has grown up, my stalks of corn, if I could use that for an example, are now ready to be harvested. I am in the business season of fall. Okay, did you put that down as a side note? Seasons don't last 3 or 4 months. Seasons could last 12 to 18, okay, to 20. I'm just saying, you cannot compare your season to somebody else's season. I know that's heavy. I know y'all really don't want to hear that, but I'm going to tell it to you anyway. You cannot compare your season to somebody else's season. Right now, I am in the season of fall, and this entire year, I'm probably going to be in a fall season. Now, the season of winter is business, is rest. Time for you to get clarity on what is happening in the wintertime. SWOT analysis begin in the wintertime. Yeah, in the winter is when we sit still and we're quiet. And you might be saying, God, I'm in a season where ain't nothing happening. This your winter season. This is your season now to get clear. Now it's time for you to reflect back on what worked and what didn't work. What could you have done better? What could you add or take away? What is booming and what you need to continue to do in that particular stage? Now is that winter season to sit, listen, pray, seek guidance. Yeah. Listen for direction and instruction. Instruction is the plan, as my mentor reminded me. Directions are what we need to move forward. Instruction is the plan, but the directions gives us what we need to move forward. There are seasons. You've just got to take some time to understand what season your business is in right now. Is it in the spring season of planting? Is it in the summer season of tilling the ground, growth? Is it in the fall season of harvest? Or is it in the winter season of clarity? These have been your 4 seasons. I hope that I have said something today that, of course, will provoke you to think a little bit deeper about not only business, but also ministry. Where does your ministry stand during these seasons? Remember, darlings, if you don't work it, it will not work. Until next time, go ahead and make sure that you subscribe to this channel. You can also subscribe to my website so that you never miss a beat, www.ssboardley.org. I am Sabrina B, a social imagery and ministry life coach. I work with women in business and ministry, making sure they live their camera-ready lives. It, of course, is about the feel, the sound, and the look. I hope to hear from you really, really soon. Have an absolutely amazing day.